All right, ladies and gentlemen, it has been far too long since the latest Sorrow Eternal interview, but we are back tonight. Daryl and Justin here, and we are honored to have Mark and Tijs of Dutch instrumental metal band Kong here. So, gentlemen, first and foremost, we want to thank you guys for taking the time to answer some questions for us.
Hello, this is Tijs from Kong.
And this is Mark.
After a 7-year absence, what was it about the music of Kong that made you want to bring the band back? And when none of the former members were available, did you have any reservations about continuing on with a new group of musicians?
In the 7 years that Kong didn't exist, I'd been doing several other things musically. I'd been working with a dance company, made music for them, and done some stuff for television, documentaries, and so on, which was very interesting, but it was mostly electronic music that I made, which I hadn't done before, so a totally new thing. But after a while, after several years, I've just felt the need to, the desire to play in a band again. So at a certain point I thought, well, why not giving it a try and see if I can bring a band together. And it was only logical for me to first check with old members of from Kong if they were interested and available. But I didn't have the intention to revive Kong again. It was more like see what people I can bring together and just start making music and see which direction it would go. It soon became clear that the old members of Kong were not interested or available. So I decided to start to look for other people, which I found, not all at the same time, but I started working with Tijs at first, and later Mandy, the drummer, joined in, and sometime half a year later also David, the other guitarist. And the music that we were making soon proved to go in the same direction as the music from Kong from the years before, which was not really a surprise for me because when I play in a band, I think this is just the kind of music I want to make. I can make also. This is my style of music when playing in a band. So when the music developed and proved to go in pretty much the same direction, and also other people told us that, yeah, well, it sounds like Kong did, and well, we thought by making it more difficult than we need to, and just use the name of Kong again, and see what happens. See if people will dig it. If we continue, in where we left off 7 years before, and this proved to be a good choice, I think, because in general the reactions were like, it's it's different people, but it's the same band.
To that point, Kong's music has always had a very signature and unique sound. How difficult was it to find musicians who could not only play with you, but also maintain some of that classic feel?
Well, I must admit that when I put an advert on the internet to find other musicians, I stated that Kong was looking for 2 guitarists and a drummer because of a possible revival of the band. And the reason I did this was that I already knew that music-wise it wouldn't be too far from what I had been doing with Kong, because like I just said, that's just my kind of music. So I thought it's wise to give it a direction in the advert to make sure that the right kind of people will respond. So the people that responded almost all knew Kong from before, so they knew what to expect more or less, and I knew that they were into a certain kind of music. But still, I'm really surprised how it went with the the writing of the new songs and the development of the sound of Kong. And of course, in the beginning, I was pretty much in charge of what was going on musically. But after a while, it just went like that. It was the new people, Tijs and Mandy and David, just blended in, and it also has to do, I think, with the fact that also in the early days of Kong, we never had any specific plan or idea. We just started jamming together, and the music just grew from that. And we never really discuss the music as an idea. We just discuss which note is being played when and where, and what kind of rhythm or samples or whatever we use. But we don't have we didn't have a specific philosophy behind the music, and that's still not the case. So I never know why the music, the songs develop like they do. It just happens, and I think I have to say that I've just been very lucky to find people with whom it again works like this. Probably it has been some kind of intuition when I started working with them, or even before that, when I had to make a choice in which people to start working with.
In the 5 years since the reformation, 2 studio albums have been released. How do you think you've changed as a group from What It Seems Is What You Get to the newest album, Merchants of Air?
The main difference between recording the last album and What It Seems Is What You Get 4 years ago, I think, is that we played live in between. So we've done rehearsals, we played shows, etc. So we knew each other much better. And I think you can actually hear that on the last album. We knew what we could expect from each other, and I think it sounds more like a band.
The artwork for the new album is some of the most surreal visuals in the Kong catalog. How did that image become the cover for the album, and what does it mean to you personally?
The artwork for the album, we already had the title, Merchants of Air, so it was kind of obvious to start experimenting with photos of sky with clouds, sun, whatever. And then I started doing basically the same thing as we do when making music, just adding elements without any specific idea or meaning, but just to see how it worked and if it became something new. I added this photo of an unfinished building, which I took a long time ago in Greece. And suddenly that had a sort of meaning for me, which connects with the title of the album, because it's like you sell an unfinished and empty thing, which at the same time is already a building, and which can be filled in by every individual who listens to the music or looks at the cover of the album. The title of the album, in my opinion, has several meanings. When being a merchant of air, you're supposed to sell air, which is in a way ridiculous. On the other hand, in the future, maybe it's not so ridiculous when there is not so much clean air left. And also, music or sound is nothing more than the movement, the moving of air. So in a way, that's what we are selling. We are selling moving air. After the album was released, I got a question from someone from England who got the album, and he asked why there were so-called chemtrails on the cover of the album. And I never heard of chemtrails before, so I looked it up, and it seemed to be that there is a whole community of people who think that there is a conspiracy going on of governments who spread chemicals or poison or whatever with planes to, in one way or the other, influence or maybe even to poison the people, the population of different countries. So they have all kinds of proof that it's not the normal trails from airplanes, but it's special chemtrails which are spread on purpose by governments who have not the right intentions with their people.
Songs like Astral Call and The Gates of Exception sound like they could be used as a score in a movie. Have you ever thought about writing film scores?
Both Mark and David write music for films and television every now and then, but with Kong as a group we never did. Perhaps in the future we will, but until then I guess people have to use their own imagination while listening to Kong.
Yeah, and actually we're kind of waiting for David Lynch or Quentin Tarantino or some other director to ask us to make a soundtrack for his movie, but so far it didn't happen.
There seems to be a growing movement in the rock and metal community to incorporate electronic elements into the standard guitar, bass, and drum music. With touches of electronics throughout the new album, we have to ask, how do you know when enough is enough and keep from compromising the initial sound?
Well, sometimes the initial sound is electronic. It could be a sample or a drum loop or whatever electronic sound. Other songs start with a guitar riff or whatever bass line. So I don't think it really matters whether it's electronic or acoustic or organic or whatever you want to call it. As long as it's functional in the music, it should be there.
Yeah, to know when enough is enough is pretty difficult. I think that it happens in our music that it's getting pretty much. The music is getting pretty crowded now and then. But we try to keep an eye on it. And the good thing is that it's not one person who decides when a song is finished or whether we should add another element or not. Although most songs are nowadays composed by one or two band members, all the others always have something to say about it and can just express their ideas, and the others, the composers, listen to it, and we keep an eye on each other's stuff. So yeah, it's just a matter of keeping a distance now and then, and checking if the initial idea, as far as there is an initial idea, is still there, or you're maybe already adding stuff which is not essential anymore.
One of the most intriguing aspects of Kong is how vocals have never been needed to convey emotion or even tell a story. How hard is it to write music that stands on its own without the aid of that vocal element? And coincidentally, has there ever been the thought of adding a full-time singer of any kind?
Yeah, I think 99% of all pop music is vocal music. It's based on vocal lines, on traditional structures, and I personally find it quite a relief to let go of those rules. And I think all people involved in writing the music for Kong don't really feel the need to express themselves in lyrics or in vocal lines or in words even. So I don't feel any restriction in writing instrumental music, especially with all additional sounds that you can use. It's freedom in a way.
And no, we never thought about adding a singer to the band. We have experimented now and then a little bit with vocals, which resulted in the last song of the new album having some spoken word and even some singing. But no, Kong wouldn't be Kong anymore if we would add a full-time singer. And we still, even after so many years and so many albums, we don't feel any need to use vocals, and let alone to use lyrics.